Well, where we get to hear the truth of God with the love of God so that our lives can be changed to the glory of God. I'm so glad you're here. And it is a beautiful, frigidly cold day here in New Hampshire. I was just talking about like how cold it is just walking outside. When you're attacked by the cold, you know it's really cold. When you can't walk from like your house to your car without being like, oh, my fingers, it's cold. When your snowblower is frozen to the ground, you know it's cold. And that happened to me the other day. We had to bring out a heater to heat up the snowblower to get it unfrozen from the ground, okay? It is just cold, and it's getting colder. All right, so if you're up here in New England, you know my pain, that achy pain from when the cold just cuts right through any layer that you have and it attacks you. All right, so, but anyway, it is beautiful. And what I love about the cold though is the snow that falls, it is so light and fluffy and it is beautiful, and the wind, it blows it from the trees and it's just gorgeous. As long as you're sitting inside next to a nice warm fire. Okay, and so I hope that wherever you are, maybe you're cozy in your living room, you're cozy with your family, and you're getting to enjoy some heat, all right? Well, we are glad you're here. We're going to be in the Word today, and I'm starting a new series this morning. I'm really excited about it. It's one of the newer Lifelines for Teens books, and this one is Help, I Want My Life to Count. I know I'm going through these, at one after another, but man, they are so helpful. And they could be great gifts for you to give to someone else, for you to read personally and then give to someone else. I've just noticed that these little books, they're simple. And they're short enough to be able to sit and read over a couple days, maybe even one day if you like to read a lot. But they can be really helpful for you to think about some really tough questions. And I'm not even scratching the surface. There's so many of these books. I'd love for you to check them out. So this one, Help, I Want My Life to Count, is available on the online store. It's available on lifelineforteens.com. But check it out. And you can get more information there and more details on the lessons that we're talking about. Well, this morning, as I review, I was looking through some of the questions and things like that in the chat from last week, the comments. It looks like some of you guys wrote in. Here's 3 jokes from Olivia. I need you to laugh out loud if you think that these are funny. And I found one of them very good. Okay, why did the football player bring a dictionary to the football game? He wanted to make sure that his plays were well defined. What do you call a bike that shops a lot? A bicycle. A B-U-Y-cycle. Get it? Okay. Did you know that a cat can jump higher than a house? Yeah, because houses can't jump. Okay. And then one from Joseph, he says, how do you turn soup into gold? You add 24 carrots. All right, so there you go. Those are the jokes. That's what we got for this morning. Thanks for writing those in. It was fun to read some of your comments, even from the last lesson, and just talking about how to think biblically and about shame. And I hope that those lessons were helpful to you. Well, as we get into this next study, this one, Help, I Want My Life to Count, is a little bit of a different approach. And this is talking about eternity. This is talking about the future. This is talking about how you will spend your life. And this is written by Matt Collier. And Matt has a great perspective on life, traveling the world and even being a pastor. And now he's the president of the Wilds. But I love thinking big picture with him. And what he does is, in this book, he starts to write about his greatest fear as a teenager. He says that his greatest fear wasn't public speaking. It wasn't heights. It wasn't getting lost in the woods. It was that he would come to the end of his life, and he says that looking back, he would realize that he wasted it. That was his greatest fear. And I don't think he's alone in that fear. I think deep down, life matters to all of us. And the future and the purpose of our lives, it matters. I think deep down, we want our lives to count. And I want to challenge you to think about what you want your life to count for. What do you want people to say about your life or to recognize that you lived for? And we want our lives to count for something that lasts even beyond our life, even more than just, and I don't even want to say it that way because it's not a recognition of what we've done. And we're going to see that because it counts for something way beyond us. And maybe you've never said it this way, but you've felt it. Have you ever wished that, let's say, you could get a do-over? You remember that when you were a kid? you have a bad serve, or you're playing Foursquare, and someone messes up, and they say, do-over, do-over. And or maybe in a video game, you feel like you're playing, and I was playing this one. It was like this racing game, and all of a sudden, if you crashed or if you ran off the track, you could just push this button. It would drop you right back at the starting line. It was like, hey, that's kind of cool. That makes it easy. Don't you wish that you could just do that? Maybe you wish that you could just have a do-over. Maybe just go back in time and just fix it all. Maybe it was something you said. Maybe you said something that wasn't kind. Or maybe it was something you did. Maybe you even walked away from a conversation thinking, well, I really blew that one. I wish I could go back and do it differently. But life doesn't work that way. See, once words are spoken, you can't just take them back. And unlike the movies, or like a video game, you can't just rewind time. You can't just go back 15 seconds or 30 seconds and take it back. You can't put the words back into your mouth after you say them. You can't change the actions that you've already done. We don't get to rewind time and fix our mistakes. We don't get multiple lives. You don't get all of these redos. We get one. And so the question is, in this whole study, the question is not whether your life will be spent, because we know that it will be. It's whether it will be wasted. And that's a shocking question, and I hope it shocks you into thinking about eternity. So let's come at this from a different angle, okay? When you were a kid, did you ever have an adult ask you this kind of question? They said, what do you want to be when you grow up? All right? How are you going to spend your life? And I remember even having that question asked to me, and even to be honest, I asked that question to other kids as well. I say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Matt references in the book, he talks about the story of going to a graduation ceremony. And at the beginning of the graduation ceremony, there was this video that played and clips of each of the kids answering this kind of question. And some of the kids say, I want to be a firefighter, which of course means trucks and fire. And that tracks. That's understandable for a kid to say that. Another says, I want to be a teacher. Oh, extra credit to that kid, And one little girl says, I want to be a mommy. And right on cue, the whole room, just goes, oh, that's so cute. As kids get older, adults keep asking the same question. And like I said, I've asked this to teenagers. What do you want to be when you grow up? Sometimes I even ask it about myself. What do I want to be when I grow up? And sometimes it is just small talk, but sometimes it's because those people really care. And as you get into your teenage years, that question starts to feel heavier. Have you felt this? Some of you guys out there, like you're high school juniors and seniors, and you're probably thinking about this more than the middle school, the middle schooler, or even the elementary kid here, and definitely more than a kindergartner. But I want to suggest something, okay? And this is what we're trying to go after here. I think that there's some wrong assumptions that are baked into that question. I want to suggest that we're asking the wrong question altogether by saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? To be honest, that question is not that great when you think about it. And it's because it assumes, the first thing, it assumes that the person being asked will actually grow up. Think about that. I think James says it bluntly in James chapter 4, in verse 13, James 4, verse 14. What does he say here? He says, "Whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time, and then vanishes away." What is he saying? He's basically saying, you don't know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? He says. You're like a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. It's like vapor when we're walking outside on these cold days and we breathe and we can see our breath in the air. Where does that go? It disappears. It's gone. It's there for a moment, but you can't grab it. You can't see it anymore. It just disappears. Our lives are like that vapor. And we tend to assume that every young person will live a long and full life. And they're gonna live till they're 90 or 100 years old, like all the other people before them. But that's not guaranteed. And tragically, some lives are cut short. And even younger children and teenagers, sometimes they're cut short by disease or accidents, by things that no one saw coming. And I'm not trying to scare you here, but this is the reality. Our lives are not guaranteed to be long and full. So, if we're asking the wrong question, this is also assuming something else. And I believe it's leaving out the biggest factor. It leaves God out completely. The second assumption is this, and I think it's even more serious than the first. It leaves God out of the picture completely. And the question assumes that every young person has a right to independently decide what to do with his or her life. Once again, if you were to be in James and you were to look at the verse before and the verses after what we just looked at, James, he starts to pull back the curtain to reveal the human heart of pride. See, when we insist on making plans with no thought of God, it's just showing that we only care about ourselves. What does he say? In James chapter 4, verse 13, he says, "Go to now, ye that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. But now ye rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil." What's he saying? He's saying tomorrow, today, you're going to go and do these things. You have this plan. And he's saying instead, you should use this phrase. You should think, if the Lord wills, I'll do that. You see, we can have all these plans for our lives, but ultimately we should be saying, God, what is your will for my life? What do you want me to do? I mean, talk about a strong warning. It is a strong wording to say all such rejoicing is evil. It's boasting, it's pride, it's arrogance to say, this is what I'm going to do with my life. I mean, that's pretty shocking. That's a different way of thinking. So, of course, James is right. And the Apostle Paul backs him up too. And if you were to look at 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19 and 20, it talks about and uses the phrase, you are not your own, Paul says. You were bought with a price. If you're not your own, then your life is not your own. Your future is not your own. God owns you. God, He's given every person the freedom to make decisions, and He's giving you this opportunity to even make choices in your life, to countless choices for what you'll study, what career you'll pursue, where you'll live, how you'll spend your time, whom you marry, or how to not marry, and to be single, how to spend your money. But even as you choose your direction in life, the Bible, it presents this reality that your life isn't actually your life. It's God's life, and no one is truly free. Either you're a slave to your sin, or you're a slave to God. Romans 6, verses 15 to 18, it talks about that concept, and it basically is pointing out you don't have any other choices. You're either a slave to your sin, or you're a slave to God. Your life is not your own. So maybe we should rephrase the question this way. Rather than saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? Maybe we should say it this way. What do you think God wants you to do with the life that He has given you? What do you think God wants you to do with the life that He's given you? Because asking the right question and thinking correctly first about our lives, asking the right question will start to put us on the right track to find the right answer. And so this study, Hope, I want my life to count. This is addressing a deep but an eternal question. How can I not waste my life? How can I live with purpose? What does it mean for a person's life to really count? What does counting really mean? Is it just adding things up? Is it taking coins and counting them out on a table? Taking dollar bills and counting them up? Is it taking years and accomplishments in life? Does it mean accomplishing great things and saying, I've done this many great things in life? Is that what it is? Is it influencing world events and just being more and more influential in your sphere, whether it be your school or your church or your town, if you become a politician or you serve your country or whatever? How can you quantify this? Influencing world events and big things like that? Is it finding solutions to difficult problems, solving world hunger or cancer, or finding cures for things, or discovering a new energy source or whatever, these big, high aspirational goals. Is that what it means to make your life count? Is it gaining widespread recognition from people? And I think in these lessons ahead, what we're going to do is we're going to consider all of these questions, and we're going to figure out how do those things play in, because we don't want to just be bumps on a log and say that we shouldn't do anything because, we're not really that important. Our life is not our own. Well, that's not the right attitude either. But please know that with God's help, it is possible to live a life as a teenager like you're coming to the end of your life. You can live your life now so that when you look back, you can say confidently, I did live my life for what really matters. My life really did count. The things that I accomplished, they will endure. And I really hope and I pray that God would work in your heart through this study, that God would point out how you consider how God wants you to live, rather than just what you want to be when you grow up. We'll take some time to go through some of the homework questions. I got 3 of them here for you to think about this lesson, but also to think about the ones to come. If you were honest, what are you currently planning or pursuing without seriously asking what God wants? And why are you pursuing that? And we mentioned James chapter 4. Go back to that passage and also 1 Corinthians 6 and look at those. Study those out a little bit more and ask who actually owns your life. And then how should that truth change the way that you think about your future? And then finally, when you imagine the end of your life, what would it look like to say, my life counted for what mattered to God, and what might need to change now for that to be true? Well, guys, that's all we have for today. We can't wait for next week to get back into the study and to deal with our next topic. But until then, I hope you have a great day and stay warm out there. We'll see you next time.